Hi, I am Heather here today with the Manager's Corner, and I'm super excited to be welcoming Anukriti with us this week. Looking forward to having her share a bit more in our conversation about her experience. I'm going to go ahead and get started by having her introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Heather, for actually welcoming me here because I was very excited when I saw your video. My name is Anukriti Pandey. I'm master's in IO psychology, also have PhD HRM, postgraduate diploma in human resources to get a holistic view. I'm an NLP master practitioner and I'm founder of Altruist Technologies, founder and director. My passion is to work toward making us, impact on IO psychology, understanding that how industrial and organizational psychology is very important for the organization and it has a completely different space from human resource management. They differ in a very unique way. And as I always say that we are not competing at all with human resource management because no matter what, IO psychology has a big major impact coming from them. We're learning from them and we have brought new perspectives with keeping psychological theories and behaviors into action. So yes, that's how I would like to introduce myself. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for distinguishing for the audience here the difference between IO psychology, industrial organizational psychology, and HR, human resources. They are very distinct fields. So I'm really excited for you to share a bit more about your experience, given that you are from the organizational psychology field of work, because you specifically focus on working with people to help empower and develop them in their careers. So one of the things that I thought could be really interesting to help us get started here is to kind of have you share a bit more about, how you became so passionate about this. Like, what may you have experienced in your personal work life that kind of led you down this path?
So, while I was doing my graduation, I was in a distance education and I was working almost for 4 years. I had a corporate professional work experience for 4 years. During that work experience, while going from, starting from frontliners to manager level to HR level, through the experience of knowing people and understanding them, when you're, just handling yourself and then you grow up within 4 years and handle around 20 to 30 people of group, you have to understand not only your emotions, your well-being, but also have to make sure that every individual in your team gets that attention. It's like handling a family of group, a joint family kind of a thing, because you need to make sure they perform well. You need to make sure they, whatever gaps you're covering for them as a manager, you also have to make sure that they, what are the issues and everything, while keeping yourself onto a par level as well, because you are the one who's like, in our family, your parents are the one who gets into that milestone that yes, this is the one whom I look forward to. When it comes to a team, the manager is the one who is look forward to that, yes, this is the one how I want to be with, or this is how I don't want to be with as well. It goes pros and cons as well. And for that, handling all those responsibility as a manager, I got into view that yes, I need to study psychology more, especially organizational psychology, to understand how can I, actually utilize different psychology theories and perspectives and psychotherapies to work on behavior in the workplace, and how can it actually change the organizational dynamics completely. Obviously, keeping up to your names, it is a beautiful one. So, and also when we talk about, when we learn about psychology as a psychology student and curious person, we know we have always been learned that every individual is a unique person. That's how we start with basics of psychology. When we change into organizational psychology, it brings a new perspective as you start learning that every organization is also unique. So you need to make sure that you string the threads, and you wove the threads in a very structured manner to bring the best. So that's how my passion came in, and I started a whole master's, and now I'm working on it so that I can bring whatever I learned and whatever I've experienced to the world.
Wow. It's really cool to hear how you share the way you were able to gain that really important workplace experience for yourself to help you see what folks are experiencing day to day in a management role. So you've seen it firsthand, you've been in the role, you've been in the position, and you've seen, it seems, some of the shortcomings that do exist when we aren't doing this work, when we aren't learning about our emotions and how to manage them effectively. So I'm really grateful that you're here to kind of share more about what you've been learning on your journey, on your professional journey since leaving the workplace in that management role. And today I know that you were really excited to kind of dive a little bit deeper into emotions and how those play a role in a management position, and the ways that we can kind of, and you're excited to kind of share more about what you've learned in terms of how we can kind of leverage this knowledge of our emotions and an understanding of them to propel us forward in our careers. So I'm excited to kind of hear more about that topic from you.
Thank you so much. So as we have already been talking about that, how emotions can actually affect, how much varied emotions our managers go through when they are handling around, number of peoples, because they have so many people to handle. And with you do attract energy. So if you see a happy, sub employee, you feel happy that, okay, this person is feeling happy, but you feel sad, resentment, angry. There's so many emotions when we talk about. And with each emotion, you feel, you do attract that energy. And as a manager, you need to make sure that while you're, making them come to a neutral state, you don't allow that energy take over you. So for that, because if I, as a manager, I'm not able to take care of my emotional well-being, I won't be able to, actually guide my people or my team to actually take care of them, or I wouldn't be able to help them because I wouldn't be able to manage their emotions when I'm not able to manage mine. So on that topic only, I'm very excited to share my, emotional first aid kit, which has been influenced by mindfulness and CBT actually. Dialectical behavior therapy, which we'll be talking about, and it's by one of the major. I'll be sharing names of 2 books as well while we end it, which we can read through. It's by Linda Flores, and she has done amazing work while writing that. It is very wonderful book. At the end of the slide, I'll share 2 books by her, which we you can buy it or you can check for the PDF, because I'm also looking for the PDF. I read it through Kindle and now I've lost it, but it is a wonderful book. That's hands-on. It's a wonderful book. So I'll share my PPTs.
More about how you came to creating this for yourself, maybe, and in the way that you're now able to share it with other people as a result. That would be really, really nice.
Sure. So when because I was while I was in graduation and I did with my master's, and I started with working when I was founding Altruist Technologies at that moment. And there were many people who used to ask my parents, myself, that why are you building this app? What is your whole theory about? Why are you not going for clinical or counseling, which is already a set up psychological perspective? Why you're going for the organizational perspective? And especially in India, which is, still have a long way to go to come organizational psychology into limelight. And that phase, I know that what I have felt, I know the only changes as a psychology student can bring is when I actually learn things with organizational perspective. And when going through, I learned through CBT, different psychotherapies while I studying my education. And as soon as I got used to get clients who used to be stressed that I'm not able to handle burnout, I'm so stressed up, I feel so many emotions, I really don't know, and they're using different coping mechanism, which is an unhealthy coping mechanism. So because just let's take an example. We know that we would be soon entering the performance appraisal again within March, just in next 3-4 months, or annual year appraisal kind of a thing. What happens is that if a person called ABC goes to his manager for the appraisal and he says that you haven't received any appraisal because you haven't done so well, without thinking anything, he takes out the anger and he just rams out of the room, just goes out without thinking, and then he goes out and have smoke or tea. So what happens is that you're just letting out anger in a completely different way. And you just get angry and you tell everyone around you that my manager is not a good one, kind of those things. That is an unhealthy. What can be that you just get silent, you just count 10 to 1, just because I know that felt bad, but just count 10 to 1, which is very simple technique. And after that, you ask your manager, okay, I understand that I have scored low for the performance appraisal, but what are the things which actually made me feel count low? Let me know where I can work on my weaknesses so that I can change into where I can work as an improvements. That's a healthy coping mechanism to actually understand where do you lack and where you can work. So that's the same thing which brought me to build this emotional first aid kit, because our emotions make you feel whatever you are feeling within, that makes you feel to do actions, and which shape your world, which shape your life. Whatever you do as an action, it can have both positive and negative effect. So that is what brought me to make this kit.
Yeah.
And also we know that, when we have that, we all have first aid kit at homes. When we have a cut, we put, first aid bandage on it. When we have a burn, we could put Bernol on it. But do we have the same thing for emotions, that if I'm feeling angry, do I have something already in our mind that this helps me? Or how to, get out of this mode? Or when we are feeling sad, when we are feeling guilt, when we are feeling shame, how to get actually, understand that this is my emotion in a right way, rather than overlapping them, to for with another emotions, and using the exact thing to help out myself with that emotion. So yeah.
That's really helpful. And it sounds like in order to use an emotional first aid kit and to kind of guide yourself through emotions and into a new behavior that is healthy in the workplace, it's helpful to first start with that awareness of the emotion, knowing what it is, knowing that it's there, and then understanding what works best for you to help you navigate that emotion when you are in that triggered state.
Yes, completely agree. I completely agree with that you need to make sure that, you understand your emotions. You need to first make sure that what is the emotion you're feeling, so that, because you need to get in the grassroots. Because I might be angry, I might be feeling guilt, but I'm showing as an anger, like a displacement as a defense mechanism, that I'm feeling guilt that I did something wrong. But as soon something wrong at the workplace, but as soon as I came at home, I just shouted at my, younger brother as displacement. That anger came into action, that I was feeling angry, that I didn't do anything right. So we need to check on what are we actually feeling. Are we feeling anger, or are we feeling actual guilt that we did something wrong? And we really need to accept that, so that we don't build up emotions. Because when we building up emotions as a pillar, that building will collapse sooner or later, and that will affect our well-being.
And it affects others around us and our relationships, both in the workplace and out of the workplace. Given your example there, when you the term that you used was displacement, where you kind of like passed along the emotion that you had from your workplace experience onto your home life, and it then like transfers into every part of your life, and it kind of takes over your entire world. So this is really important stuff that you're referring to.
Yeah, completely agree. Because yes, emotions, go from one start as soon as you wake up to the time you sleep, while you're sleeping as well through your dreams. It is wavering through all wavelengths. So we need to make sure that we understand, we accept it well. So first is that you accept it, that this is what I'm feeling. Then you can change it through different responses. You can change it through physical responses. You can change it through thoughts. You can change it through, changing the actions. So these are the few ways why you can actually, make sure that you change it. And it's not that sometimes you cannot change it. For example, if you've lost someone, if one of your managers who has always been your support system, your senior manager, and he has to leave the office for something, that there would be a loss for you, because, you felt that he was always, or she was always your backbone. So that loss or the grief of losing someone completely from the workplace, you have to cope up with it. But coping up also with an emotion when you cannot change your thoughts, make sure that you do it in a right way, because there are many beliefs and, problematic core beliefs like black and white thinking or something like that actually affect you. And also when you get into like, I am, the self-worth and self-morale thing. So that is also when you're changing your way of thoughts, and making sure that you make sure you don't use any wrong core beliefs, or don't hammer yourself on your self-worth or self-morale, making sure that you build yourself well. So yeah.
How do you build your self-worth personally?
So when I'm feeling down, so for example, I lost around 1 month back, I lost my maternal uncle and my maternal grandfather and my paternal grandfather, all three of them together. Within 1 month, I was like constant. There were 3 dates. And at that time, I was feeling very low, because I have never been taking care of my home altogether with work. My mom has always been my support system. But at that time, she has to go to her maternal home, taking care of them, because they needed her more than I needed her. And I felt that, I haven't done that household work completely, never handled that much pressure. And was put up there that I have to handle it. Plus I have to handle this work, which I had my classes and everything. At that time, I made sure that, whenever I'm feeling something, I will sit with it and understand what I'm feeling. Am I actually feeling missing her? And I'm that missing her because I'm not able to hug her. I'm not able to talk to her much. I need to give her the space and time. So I have to make sure that I sit with it and, relax myself and then go to the next step of the work. When I needed a break, that yes, today I'm not able to take class, or not able to take my session, I'll inform them that I'm not in the right space of mind. Also, when you know that you need a break, you have whole right to make sure that you actually cut off your calls, because your priority, the first priority, is yourself. Until you are, well, you cannot forward it. And when you know that your energy is not sitting at the right place, let's calm yourself first. Let's get it to neutral. I'm not saying go to the positive. Let's not jump into positivity. It's not easy. Let's come to the neutral first. Because when you come to neutral, then only you can. That's how the car or any vehicle works as well. When you're reversing some car, you have to bring it first to neutral. Then only you can, start with going straight. But without coming to neutral and you stayed away, go to, first level of the gear, your gearbox will be disrupted completely. Your car will break down. That's only how our body also works. We can just compare a machine to body. That how does our emotions also work? So that's how I used to work. And also I would, as soon as when my mom wasn't here, I would wake up at 5 and I would go for a walk, morning walk, and see the clouds at the terrace, see the clouds, and just have my own me time. Because as soon as I would come back, I knew that I have a whole busy routine till 9 p.m. at night, doing my classes, taking care of the home and doing all household chores, then coming back to sessions. So I made sure that I have my everyday me time so that I can relax and I can understand all my emotions. So that's how I work on myself, especially.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you giving us a glimpse into what's worked really well for you. And I really love your inclusion here of, giving yourself permission to take care of yourself. And beyond that, also highlighting the importance of self-care, making sure you carve out time for yourself. And it is an active choice to make the time for yourself. So I really appreciate you surfacing this. I think that it's a really important thing for you to be sharing and for all of us to be considering.
Thank you so much. Yes, self-care and self-love is very much needed, because that only, brings it. You need to make sure that you oil yourself. Like we take care of our family, that make sure that everyone has had their food. We take care of our, team, that everyone is working at their own perspective and levels, and they're getting everything what they need. The same goes for us too, that, that we are receiving what we need. Because, no matter what you are, as we have been saying and emphasizing on, that you are your own first priority. And once you take care of yourself, you will see that how better you can reflect to others. When I was low, I knew that I wasn't able to, give that whole energy to my class. They would understand in a minute that, Anukriti, you're not at your best. You always light up. You have so much energy, and now you're feeling low. We're not liking that class. I'm like, I cannot help it. I have to complete the topic, but I'll make sure that I keep up with the energy. And as soon as I was, growing bit by bit, they also saw the changes that we are seeing, that you're coping up with the loss, and you're bettering yourself day by day. So that's how you would not only see the changes, but the other person will also be able to see that light and glow. And every one of us want to make sure that, we bring that light and glow, no matter at what levels, whether we come from different backgrounds, whether we come from different industries. We really want that people around us should feel that light and glow and positivity. So for that, you need to make sure that you work on yourself first.
I love that. And it sounds like you had a really nice support system around you with the other folks who were noticing these changes in you, that were kind of in some ways rooting you on, or like there to just say, like, keep going. We know that there's a light in you. Come bring it back. And so it's really nice to see this community that you have around yourself too, to support your growth.
I'm blessed and grateful to have them. They have always been supportive. They have never, I would feel someday that because everyone has this low days when I would be like, I don't know if I have that thing enough to bring LTS, whatever I dreamt of when I started with the passion and everything. And they would be like, we know that you have it. So don't talk about it. We're just putting up your name here and there. So that's how my all Insta lives goes like that only. Whatever I'm putting up the action there. Whenever they have to record a video with me, they would be like, we are putting up your name there. You just have to be there and just talk with us. We know that you have all knowledge. We'll ask you a few questions where we have to so that you can be there. Just be there and be ready. I'm like, okay, that's how I respond.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. They were there to hold you. And I'm sure in times of need, you're there to hold them as well. So it's a mutual thing in your relationships.
Always. They are my blessing. So when you have a blessing, you make sure that, you take care of them so they don't run away. And I cannot let them run away anyway. So, and that's how you fill your emotional cup as well, because when we have so many pictures put up at every mental health practitioner who is using it, how important it is to fill the emotional cup. So sometimes when you're not able to fill the emotional cup, because sometimes you're not able to, we need to, it's not that always you are able to, then your support system, that close support systems are the one who actually fill it up for you, just to make sure that they reach at a level like the basic level, so that now that understand, okay, my emotional cup is filled and I can work on filling it more so that it can reach to the brim. But sometimes you just empty it so much, things happen in life that you empty it so much because of so many things that you really have no clue how to fill it up to the basic level, as like the minimum level. And that time the support system is much needed. So we should always take care of our supportive relationship. And I do it usually. This is one technique which I usually used when I had to work on my support system as well as boundaries, because these are two things which have to be maintained at a very it's a very thin blurred line when it comes to support system and blurred boundaries as well. So we know about the solar system, right, that we always make use to in the childhood. So you be the sun, because you have to share the light and glow. Make sure yourself a sun, and then design like Mercury, Venus, Earth. So you can design your support system like your parents, your family, and the close friend as like till Earth. And then you have other people as Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. So you know that yes, they are there for you. They have an emphasis in your life, but they, if they do anything which can bother you, that whole reflection wouldn't be able to reach. So it will set up in your mind too. Okay, these are the people which do have an space in my place in my life, but their action won't bother me. So that helped me as well. So yes, that's why I was like, it's just clicked me that yes, this is also one of the things which I do.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a really beautiful invitation. I really love the invitation that you've given us to consider ourselves as the sun, and then to like visualize all of the planets around us in our personal solar systems. I really love that visual, and it's just such a sweet invitation to think of yourself as the sun. It automatically feels brighter.
Yes,
it's really sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is so kind of you to share everything that you've shared. I'm sitting here just so grateful for all the new learnings that I've been able to receive from you. And I know that everyone who gets the opportunity to listen into this conversation will feel the same. And toward the end of the conversations that we have with folks here, I like to ask the question, are there any resources or books or, tools that have been incredibly helpful to you or more helpful than others on your journey? Particularly for you, I know that you mentioned a couple of books through the conversation, so maybe you might want to resurface those.
Yes, I have 2 books which I can share. One is Calming the Emotional Storm by Shari Wen. So that is a wonderful book because it helps they have put up that how can you use dialectical behavior therapy skills to manage your emotions and balance your life. So that book name is Calming the Emotional Storm. And the second book is by Erin Olivo, which is Wise Mind Living. Two books are amazing ones. once you have a read, I have written, put in up things in a very beautiful way, and that will actually make you feel so much at peace and so beautiful with perspective to yourself. That books have helped me to understand emotional first aid kit and design it, and I'm sure it will help anyone who read through it. So yes.
Thank you for this. I'm going to add them to the in the description of the video, so anyone who watches this will be able to access the specific titles that you've shared. And as we end here, I also want to highlight that one of the things that I've loved getting to know about you is the work that you've done on your emotional first aid kit. And it's something that I know you're incredibly passionate about. You've mentioned a few times in our conversation here, and will likely want to share in more depth with folks in the future. So I just want to throw that out there, that in the future, we'll likely get to collaborate again to just share in more depth this amazing tool and resource that you've created, because I think it's really incredible. I just want to be able to give that the space that it deserves to go into it in more depth, because it's really cool.
Thank you so much.
So we'll leave that as one of the third resources, the emotional first aid kit, that will be coming soon for folks. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anukriti. I'm so grateful for the chance to have you on today.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me, and I am so happy to actually be here today.
Oh, awesome. Take care.
Bye.